Yeah, this isn't confirmation at the moment, but speaking of this, I was speaking to Richard a little bit earlier today, and there is a chance that by the time we're actually at this convention, we may have the updated game system rules and mechanics and stuff that we teased last week. There should be an article released with these rules at the time. And it means, yeah, you get to experience the game in a slightly new way. So.
A new hook has been cast by the WeirdCo team, as those of us that have been chomping at the bit for more of this game have taken the bait and have been reeled in by talk of new rules coming to the game, possibly by the end of this month, which is very exciting, as the implications are that the entire landscape of the alpha format will be uprooted in favor of a version of the game that we can expect to be playing when it goes live after its true release later this year. Now, I could speculate about what rules they might be adding or altering, but instead of that, I would like to spend some time in this video talking about some rulings that are very important to know in the current format of the game that will likely carry over through the rules upgrades we'll soon be receiving. I'll be focusing on several individual cards, but the core rules behind these cards and the interactions I want to talk about will be applicable to any other card in the game. These are some of the most common rulings questions I've seen people bring up in person and in online groups while playtesting the alpha format, and many of these have either already been covered in the quick rules that are available on the Cyberpunk TCG website, or were clarified in the Cyberpunk TCG official Discord server, which you should join if you haven't already to stay in the know with the goings-on with the game, and to meet some cool folks who love to talk Cyberpunk. The cards I'm going to talk about in today's video are Carry Uridine, the two blockers, Secondhand Bombus and Corpo Security, and two legends, Jackie Wells, Pour One Out For Me, and our beloved Pan Am Palmer, Nomad Cavalry, first of her name, Mother of Meta, and Breaker of Games. Carry Uridine is a unique card in the game currently, as he's the only unit in the game so far to have an active ability that is triggered by spending him. That means tapping for those Magic players out there. Now, in a game like Magic, you have to wait a turn to attack or tap a creature you just played this turn due to summoning sickness. So if Carry was in a game with Magic's rules, his ability could not be used until he's been on your field for one turn. Cyberpunk TCG, however, only follows half of that philosophy. The quick rules state that a unit cannot attack the same turn it was played. However, any abilities of the card are still able to be used. This means that on the same turn you play Carry, if you have a gig die at maximum value, you are able to spend him to draw two cards in that same turn. I've informed several individuals of this, as they've all just assumed it wasn't allowed because of this background in playing Magic they have. So if you're new to the game and are used to Magic's rules, there is no summoning sickness that applies to units' abilities. The only limitation is they cannot attack. That's it. The next interaction I wanted to bring up involves the two wall units in the game currently, Corpo Security and Secondhand Bombus. Both cards are purely defensive in nature. They both have the blocker keyword, allowing them to redirect an attack from your rival to them instead of the target that the opponent was trying to attack. In addition to this, they both have a line of text that explicitly states that they cannot attack. Now, the ruling I've seen brought up a few times, which I admit is rare, but I have seen it asked, is how these cards interact with cards like Sandevistan. Sandevistan is a gear that has an effect that breaks the attacking rules, in that if you play a unit, you can then equip it with Sandevistan to allow that unit to target and attack a rival unit, provided it's a spent one. Now, the debate I've seen brought up is the question of what happens if you equip a card that says it cannot attack with a piece of gear that says this unit can attack spent units this turn, with the intention of breaking that unit's can't attack limitation rule. Well, the answer to this is that while it's a creative intended use of this gear, it simply doesn't work that way. Some rules are made to be broken in this game, and they say as much in the rulebook we have now, but if the unit itself has a limitation set, it cannot be overwritten by any other card in the game. At least so far. We'll see if there's some other cards out there that allow wall units like these two to attack in the future. It honestly wouldn't surprise me, but for now, it's important to know that if a unit explicitly says it has a limitation, you cannot ignore that limitation based off another card's effect. Next, we're going to shift away from the units and look at a few legends and the mechanics surrounding them that garner the most questions and confusion. The first being Jackie Wells' Pour One Out For Me. This card's ability allows you to increase the value of a gig by 2, and if it's at the maximum value, you can draw a card. The important thing to understand with cards like this is that that first sentence of the card is the requirement needed to gain the effect of the second sentence. In this case, you will only be able to draw a card if you actually satisfy the cost by increasing a gig's value to the maximum. If the gig die is at max value already, it is an ineligible target for Jackie's effect and therefore cannot be used as a gotcha to draw a card. The gig's value must be increased to draw a card, period. Now, although Jackie does say you may increase a friendly gig by 2, if you have a D6, for example, that's at value 5, and use Jackie to increase it, even though it only increased by 1, it still becomes a max value gig, which would allow you to draw a card. In a case like this, you must satisfy the cost for activating that ability as much as you possibly can in order to still use it. Alright, we've talked about several key rulings for specific cards that can apply to others in the same category, and this last card is no different. This is concerning Pan Am Palmer and her ability to allow one of your units to break the rules and attack twice in a single turn. When you can declare an attack with a unit, you can spend Pan Am, you can then move a gear equipped to Pan Am to the attacking unit to switch them into the ready state. This allows that unit to be spent a second time to attack again after the first attack resolves. This ruling isn't something I'm hearing people get wrong, but it's more so I'm not seeing many people take advantage of, and that's the ability timing surrounding it. In the case of Pan Am, let's assume you're my opponent, and you have a spent T-Bug on the field. It's my turn, and I also have a T-Bug on the field. I also have a Pan Am that was previously called, and is in the ready state. Now in this case, I choose to attack your 5-power T-Bug with my 5-power T-Bug. Now normally, this interaction would defeat both units and send them to the trash pile. However, this changes if I choose to activate Pan Am's ability. The rules explain that when you select a unit to attack your rival, any attack triggers are activated and their effects are resolved first. In this case, the attack trigger is Pan Am's ability. I spend Pan Am and move the Kuroshi objects that I placed on her onto my T-Bug. This moves my T-Bug into the ready state and increases their power by 1, making it 6 total. At this point, you have the opportunity to spend a blocker to absorb the attack, otherwise T-Bug will be defeated and mine will survive due to it having 6 power versus the 5 of yours. So in effect, you can crash your unit into your opponent's and it could still come out alive after combat if you add a gear to it via an attack trigger to increase its power so that it's greater than the unit it's currently attacking. In short, you may be able to catch your opponent off guard by attacking a similar powered unit to yours if you have a piece of gear that you can attach to it via Pan Am. I'm quite confident there will be other cards in the game that have a similar effect, so understanding how the timing of these triggers works is vital. Well, those are all the card rulings I wanted to cover in today's video. I hope this video was of some value to you and that it may have helped you to clarify some ruling questions you've encountered in your games or amongst your friend group. If there are ruling questions or interesting interactions you've encountered in your games that I didn't cover today, I'd like to hear about them in the comments section below. Again, I highly recommend joining the official Discord to stay informed on such questions people bring up, as I've seen it as a valuable source for knowledge and for connecting with other people out there who are also excited to play this game in the coming months. Thank you as always for watching the video and for all the support you've given thus far. I've been blown away by the support you've all shown as I've started to make content for this game. Stay tuned as I will have another deck tech video and some gameplay to go along with it in the near future. I'll see you there.